X could look different than what it actually looks like today. Would that be ultimate? And why not?
That would denote change. Like immutability is there's no change, no reason.
Right. Yeah, if it could be otherwise, then it's not really ultimate. How could it be ultimate? In the same way, if I tell you that something is ultimate reality, but I tell you that it's not a necessary being, meaning that there's a conceivable state of affairs where it might not have existed at all, would that be ultimate reality? Yeah.
You know, if something, God cannot exist, then, yeah,
That's counterintuitive if you're talking about
same thing, just
Yeah.
be reality.
not ultimate anyway.
Yeah.
And maybe if I put it this way too, maybe it would becomes, I think, even clearer. If I were to say that there's a possible set of conditions on which God might have never existed if those conditions had been true, how many of you would accept that statement? I think most Christians who have any familiarity with Scripture would reject that statement because God is ultimate. While there are conceivable conditions on which you and I may have not existed, right? Because we're all dependent upon other things. There are no conceivable conditions on which God wouldn't have existed. And so God is also, he's a necessary being. And I like even the notion of truth, the idea that God is truth, because if there's anything that is necessary and immutable, it's truth, right? If I told you that, Augustine makes this point, and I believe it's Confessions, that if I were to say, if tomorrow truth ceased to exist, then it would be true that truth ceased to exist, which is a contradiction. And so Augustine concludes truth is eternal and it's necessary. He also concluded it never changes. And so then going through the attributes of truth, he realizes, okay, so truth is necessary, immutable, it's eternal. Well, these are the attributes of God, from which Augustine concludes God is truth.
Would it be different or fall under the same category to say that God would be final authority, or is that?
That's related, yeah. Because, so we're asking the question, what is ultimate reality? But a related question is, what is the ultimate authority? And obviously those questions are going to converge. If God is ultimate reality, then he's going to be the ultimate authority as well.
And I was thinking it was more maybe endless.
Yeah.
Maybe as you're talking about.
So, everlasting. And so actually, so eternal. I'm going to put eternal next to immutable because they're kind of related. And then I also like perfection because everything we're talking about is a perfection of some kind.
Well, maybe you already said this, but he really had no beginning. Oh, we can wrap our heads around that, right?
Right.
That he just was being the ultimate.
He just is.
The
Yeah.
top, the very, very top.
Exactly. No beginning, no end. In fact, we would say timeless. He transcends time itself. Understanding that time itself is a part of creation. Excuse me. And yeah, if ultimate, along that line of thinking, if ultimate reality could pass away, then again, it's not ultimate. How could it be? Because now you're talking about a reality in which ultimate reality doesn't exist. Well, clearly it's not ultimate at that point. So ultimate, I have a definition here for ultimate reality, and it's not the exclusive definition, but it's certainly true about ultimate reality. But I would say that ultimate reality is that which is necessarily and immutably true, regardless of whatever else might be true. I'll read that again. Ultimate reality is that which is necessarily and immutably true, regardless of whatever else might be true. Necessity and immutability are equivalent terms. If something is necessary, then it's immutable. It can't be otherwise. And if something can't be otherwise, then it's necessary. So it's not like we're not even necessarily talking about two different things when we talk about necessity and immutability. They're really getting at the same concept. And the distinction between God and creation is that God is necessary and immutable, while creation is non-necessary and immutable. So I'm going to put creation down here. I'm going to put it way down here, actually. So let's use creation. And I'm just going to say non-necessary. And immutable. I'm putting it down here to emphasize the transcendence of God here. So God is necessary and immutable, while creation is mutable and non-necessary. And think about the Bible's analogy of the potter and the clay. Are you guys familiar with that analogy? We see it in Romans 9, but it really comes from the Old Testament, such as Jeremiah 18, I believe. I have it down here. Jeremiah 18, and then also Isaiah makes use of it. And the idea is that in every single case, creation is being compared with a lump of clay in the potter's hand. God is the potter. He's shaping the clay. But just think about that analogy. What is it about a lump of clay that is similar or the same as creation? What?
Useless without a creator.
That's good.
Useless.
Yeah,
It won't do anything. It can't accomplish anything without being created.
exactly. Yeah. It can't exist without being created. Yeah.
It's made of dirt.
It's dirt.
I didn't think about that, but sure, that is true.
It's what's the word, malleable. So it's not like it's formed and that's its shape. It can be reshaped and reshaped.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly. So mutable.
Mutable?
Yeah, yeah. That's, malleable is a good word for it too, of course.
And with that ability to be shaped differently also comes different purposes.
Yeah,
Like the point Paul makes in Romans 9, it's the Creator's right to make something for holy use or to make something for common use.
exactly. Right. So God, he shapes it for His purpose, and back to the notion of final authority. It's His prerogative. He can shape it however He wants for whatever purpose He wants.
I feel like that's such a, with the teachings in modern day Christianity, that's like the opposite.
Oh,
You don't, it's almost like humans are necessary because if they don't do what God has them do, then God fails. And it's
Yeah.
the same with the clay. oh, I don't want to do it, so God can't make me do it.
Right.
The reason God created mankind is because he was lonely.
Right.
Friend.
It's like the total opposite of what the teaching is.
Yeah, we do. The world gets it backwards, and it seeps into the church, unfortunately. So clay is, yeah, it's mutable, it's malleable, and so ultimately it depends on the potter to have whatever form it has. But you know, even thinking about, oh, well, then along beside that, because the clay is mutable, no single form it has is necessary to it. And what I mean by that is if I had, like, say, a lump of clay and I shaped it into like a sphere or a ball, there's nothing about the nature of clay that necessitates that it's in the shape of a ball or a sphere. Because if you consider the nature of the clay, you realize that, well, there's all kinds of potential forms it could have. No one potential form is necessary to it. And it's for that reason that if you want an explanation for why the clay is in the shape of a sphere rather than, say, the shape of a cube, then you need to appeal to some external cause to explain why it has the shape of a sphere. And this is just one of the truths about mutable reality, that when you consider mutable nature, you can't find the ultimate explanation for why it is the way that it is by just appealing to its nature, because it's mutable. Consider its nature, all you're going to find is that, well, yeah, it exists this way, but it could have existed that way.